How's it going, honking breaths? And I can't actually think of a way to start this video other than just telling you that this is going to be the battle plan for me over the next 6 months as I go through my first gaining phase, and I don't know how long, certainly since pre-COVID, because as you know, I've been a proponent for just main gaining, and I like to keep myself a bit more on the lean side and not spend too much time uncomfortable with how I look and being a fat bastard. That's why I have main gained. I've developed my physique that way, I've built my strength that way, I've maintained a solid performance in my jiu-jitsu over the last 2 years that way. The time has now come for me to focus on putting on a little bit of size and obviously in turn push my lifts up too, which has been pretty hard to do over the last few years since I've been training only 3 days a week and training on the mat 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah, I'm just going to basically explain to you what the battle plan's going to be, from my training to my nutrition, and just how I'm going to approach the whole thing and hopefully what the end result's going to be. If you're watching this, I don't need to tell you to like and subscribe anyway, because there's not going to be any new people watching this, and if you know me already, you're already going to be subscribed and you're already going to like it because you think I'm fucking amazing.
Right.
On the off chance that you've maybe not subscribed, make sure that you do, please, and obviously make sure to like the video too. So as a lot of you will know, I am very much anti-bulking ever since it ruined me for years when I just tried to get as big as possible and I just turned into a big fat blob of shite. Since then, I discovered that not only is being leaner a lot better in every aspect of your life, of how you look, how you feel about yourself, how people view you, how many birds you shag, but you can still maintain a lean physique and build muscle and still get stronger, and that worked absolutely perfect for the longest time. It's the way that I approach all my clients, where we try and spend the most amount of time in the leanest position possible, and it's maybe not like super lean all the time, but certainly not at the point of uncomfortable, because even if you do gain an extra 100 grams of muscle, like, is it really going to be worth it spending like an extra 4 or 5 months where you're hiding under a hoodie and feeling shit?
Get the fuck out of here.
And obviously I advise you guys against bulking all the time, but for me, I've obviously been doing what I've been doing for the last few years, and I just want to get a little bit bigger again. It's as simple as that, and I'm not against it if it's done properly, and that's why I'm going to explain to you what I'm going to do, which is how it's done properly, because it's the exact same procedure that I get all my clients to do, and it works pretty friggin' well, because when they bulk, it actually looks like they're cutting. So my starting position currently is I'm about 90 kilos, and I've just come off cutting a little bit off weight for the No-Gi European Championships, which I competed in last week. Please don't ask me about that.
Knee point! Prick!
And to get there, I was eating about 2,400 calories a day, and my current maintenance is roughly 2,600 a day. Now, this is my starting physique at 90 kilos, and I'm fully well aware that this is not particularly lean. However, this is lean for me. This is pretty much as lean as I can sit consistently in the lowest amount of calories that I can eat to be able to just live comfortably and not feel hungry all the time, not feel tired, not affect my energy, and obviously be able to still keep a good level of performance in the gym. And on the mat too, can't forget about that. And I'm fully well aware that a lot of you guys will look at this and scoff, and there's a lot of people that can sit so much leaner than me, and obviously there's some people that, you know, find staying lean even more unnatural than I do, and that's just obviously down to genetic and body type, and this is just me for what I can handle, essentially. I know from experience that when I start to get into the 80 kilos and the level of body fat I am there, that is where my strength does start to dip, and just my overall energy throughout the day gets pretty shit. So that's why obviously I try and keep myself as low as I can go without hitting that point. Currently, I am doing 3 lifting sessions a week and 4 jiu-jitsu sessions a week. However, that does sometimes end up being 2 jiu-jitsu sessions, depending if I'm away competing or whatnot on the weekends, and maybe sometimes 3 jiu-jitsu if schedule just doesn't allow me to get the 4th in. So first of all, we're going to talk about what's going to change with my training, and I am going to go back to 4 days a week training in the gym, which is going to be the first time in at least 2 years since I started kind of taking jiu-jitsu a bit more seriously that I have been training more than 3 days a week in the gym. And I'm going to go with my trusted split of doing 2 push sessions a week and 2 legs combined with pull sessions a week, and there's going to be 2 different rotations off each exercise. And I'm still going to be focusing on lifting heavy, and I still want to put my numbers up on the exercises I'm going to be focusing on, but I also do want to kind of keep a decent amount of volume and do a wee bit more, you know, hypertrophy bodybuilding style training to obviously focus on building a bit more muscle. And the next video I put out on this is going to be a full breakdown of my training plan starting off this block, so if you want to see it in full detail, then you'll need to come back and watch. much. Now the exercise I'm going to start out focusing on is going to be my conventional deadlift, and just the other day I pulled a 252.5 kilos, which I shouldn't really have done because I've been shit at deadlifts for like the last 2 months, but however I got that, which is my best deadlift of any kind since my last stem cell surgery a few years ago, and since I started doing jiu-jitsu as well, and I can't focus on the gym as much. And it's also 12.5 kilos up on my best conventional since then too. So pretty happy with that, but I want to start seeing 260 back on the bar. Going to be front squats, which has been the main squat movement I've been focusing on recently, and I've done a really shitty 155 the other week, and I want to obviously start pushing back up to 160, maybe even 165, which was my all-time PB when I was just focusing on lifting. Incline bench press, and the reason that I'm doing that rather than flat bench is because I went through a period of focusing on my incline bench in my last training block. However, I sort of picked up a little sort of wear and tear niggle on my sort of collarbone area up here, and I had to kind of take a few weeks off incline, and I never ended up being able to kind of test my max. So I'm just going to finish off basically what I started in that block. Push press, because I spent about a year focusing on my seated military press, and I obviously just want to focus on loading up the poundage, get some heavy weight on the bar, and obviously push the weight nice and powerfully like I will be pushing and pulling and throwing people on the mat. So push press is going to be my overhead pushing movement, and pull-ups as always is going to be my main pulling movement. However, because I'll be putting on a little bit weight, it might be hard for me to quite get the actual numbers up on that. So even if I can end up putting on several kilos but keep my weight that I'll attach to me on pull-ups the same, then that'll be a pretty good win. I'm not going to be doing super duper high reps because already with the increased volume in the gym, then that should obviously be aiding naturally in building a little bit more muscle, and also as well I'm taking out a lot of the more kind of jiu-jitsu specific movements and kind of getting back to more bodybuilding, just traditional kind of strength training style movements, and both of that should just allow there to be a natural just increase of hypertrophy. I don't know why I keep saying hypertrophy like that, because I never normally speak like that. I normally just say like muscle building movements or something. In terms of jiu-jitsu, the initial plan off the bat is to just drop down to 3 days a week on the mat, potentially 4 if schedule and fatigue allows it, but realistic, I'm just going to be looking to hit my 3 sessions a week. And for any of you 3D chest thinkers there, you might be thinking, oh, but when he talks about training for jiu-jitsu, he always advocates for 2 or 3 days a week training in the gym, and anything else is too much. And if you're a client, you know that. If you've downloaded any of my free strength training plans for jiu-jitsu, you know that. But what I'm telling you is that the main focus of my training is now going to be my lifting and not my jiu-jitsu, and that's where the difference lies. And this kind of goes to a further point, which again is probably a point for another individual video, but I am actually still doing this for my jiu-jitsu. I can imagine if Robbie watches this, he's going to say, you're doing less jiu-jitsu and you're doing more weights, and that's not going to help your jiu-jitsu. And it's like, well, it's maybe not going to help it right now, but in the future it's going to help me, because essentially I'm doing this so I can come back down to 91 kilos and be just a bigger, stronger version at that weight. And it's about having that delayed gratification and being able to kind of take yourself out, think outside the box, and try and put yourself a few steps ahead. So as much as I'm going to be spending less time on the mat initially, actually in the long term is going to benefit my jiu-jitsu more. Now moving on to nutrition, and my starting calories is going to be 2,800, and I get this all the time, 200 calories isn't enough to be in a calorie surplus, and I'm like telling you for a fact that absolutely is. And again, if you just want to pile weight on as quick as possible, then obviously you can say that it's not. But if you want to just focus on building lean muscle and putting yourself in a position where your performance is going to increase, I can guarantee you 200 extra calories a day will do that if done properly. And in my specific case, again, because I'm doing less mat training and I'm now doing a higher volume of lifting, then obviously that's going to help aid muscle gains a lot easier. My starting protein is going to be 220 grams a day. I'm going to be thorough with my tracking, and I will be tracking every single day, and that is what I would normally do with my clients when they kind of reverse out of a diet, just because that initial period is the one that you need to get right so that you're not just rebounding and getting too fat. So that's why I like them to be pretty anal with that, but then ease up over time and just get to a point where they can just be a little bit more relaxed with it and eat intuitively. And really, if there's ever a time for doing that, it should be when you are gaining or main gaining and not when you're cutting. But in the interest of keeping everything as bang on as I possibly can, I probably will just stay on the tracking without ever really taking it out, which is actually what some of my clients do because they know that it keeps them extra accountable and they're happy to track every single day, and I ain't got a problem with that. And for the supplements I'm going to be taking to help with all of this, that is once again another video that you're going to have to come back for in the near future. And as I said in my Instagram post, I'm going to be documenting everything, and it's also going to be including just everything I'm going to be navigating with just general life plans, because as much as I'm all about that grind set, I do like to occasionally do some things, whether it be go out to eat or have a wee night out. Not that happens very often these days, and I'll basically be showing you how I navigate all of that to make sure that I don't get fat and just take the piss because, oh, I'm in a bulk.
Brother,
And we've got the big obvious Christmas and New Year coming up too, and obviously if there's ever a time to be going through a gaining phase, it's over that time. But I'm obviously going to show you about how to do it and how to manage it without stressing out your nut, and obviously how to make sure that you're not causing too much irreparable damage. And the Sunday meal I have at my dad's every week too, because that is not getting sacrificed in any way, shape or form.
and the rock means ever.
Now, in terms of the end goal of all of this, I'm going to say straight off the bat that I will not be able to do this as optimally as I would like to because of my jiu-jitsu. And it's nothing to do with the training, but it's more so for the competition schedule and the fact that I obviously do want to spend the most amount of time fighting in my weight division, which is the 91 kilos. And for the next wee while, I'm happy with going up and fighting at 97 in the no gi and 100 kilos in the gi. And something's going to have to give in terms of I'm either going to have to go a little bit faster than I otherwise would like to, or I'm not going to be able to go as long and take it as far. Like, for example, in an ideal world, I would have liked to get back up to 100 kilos because I've never seen that weight in God knows how long, and I would just love to get there in like really good shape and just be absolutely hench, whereas before when I was there I was still a little bit soft and podgy. And this isn't going to be exact right now, but I anticipate that roughly I'm going to get to about 97 kilos somewhere around April, maybe May time, and that'll then give me a little bit of time to come back down for obviously summer and looking sexy on the beach if I end up going to the beach next year, and also as well to hit the kind of bigger tournaments at jiu-jitsu in the back half of the year and be back down at 91 kilos or 94 kilos in the gi for that. And of course I'm going to be adaptable and I'm going to play it by ear, and who knows, I might surprise myself and I might actually be able to gain a little bit quicker than I have before and still be able to keep good shape, or I might actually not even get as far as I want to go and just be an absolute strong motherfucker in amazing shape. But as always, I'm going to be adaptable and fluid, and we're just going to see how it goes and play it by ear, and I might be able to put on more weight than I think without ruining my condition, and that's obviously always been a big cautionary thing of mine because of what's happened in the past, and that's why I do like to be a bit of a shite bag with it and just go like really slow. I might end up settling and not putting too much weight on and maybe even going up to just like 95, 96 and holding largely the same condition and just being a lot stronger. I might end up just settling and not putting on as much weight as I thought and maybe just only getting to like 95, 96 before coming back down, and again, I'll just be seeing how it goes. But the only thing that I really need to take into account right now is the fact that, as I'm aware, and this might be an exclusive for any of you that give a fuck, I am due a submission series title shot next year, and I've been told that could be roughly around March time, and the weight class of that title is 95 kilos, which actually works in pretty good for me. At that point, I don't see myself being too much heavier if I'm doing things properly, and just let's just say that because the weight class is sort of changing every competition, and let's just say there's sort of a major event I want to do and it's not at, you know, 91 or 97 and there's a weight in between, I'm going to give myself a 1 kilo water weight that I can do just like on the week of the event, but I don't want to kind of be dieting for any length of time, and I want to be in that constant upwards trajectory as much as I possibly can. So that's going to be the rules around that, and as I said, I'll just be assessing things as I go, and I'm happy to fight up a weight like for the next wee while, and even if I'm giving away a good few kilos, like I used to give away a lot more when I was fighting at heavyweight at like 105 kilos, and I would be fighting regularly 130, 40, 50 kilo monsters, so it's just light work.
Ooh, you're hard.
Hopefully that's not bored the arse off you, and if you do have any questions about any of that, you know where you can find me on the Instagram, and you can just drop me a message and you can ask me why I'm doing things, and obviously if you need any help with your bulking journey not really a journey, a bit dramatic, but if you do need help with anything, you know where you can find me. And obviously, if you do just want to bulk in the best way possible and have a plan laid out the way that I've just laid everything out myself, because again, I'm not doing anything different with myself as what I do with my clients. That's a thought and effort that goes into it. That's a forethought I put into things, and you know, trying to always be like steps ahead and think, right, okay, what we do now is going to play into what happens in 3 months' time, to 6 months' time, to a year's time. Like, there's guys that I'm coaching right now that have already got plans in place to be in certain shapes by the end of next year, never mind like next summer. So for the best coaching around, coaching inquiry forms below too, if you don't want to just talk to me about it on Instagram, even though I can promise you I'm not scary at all, and you can just have a chat with me. I'm going to leave it there, and make sure you come back to see all my other bulking updates and days in the life and training sessions and plans and supplements and all this, that and the next, and I'll catch you soon.